Trần Thị Khang spent more than 40 years searching for a father she had never seen, guided only by a faded photograph, a gold ring, and a name the war had erased. She crossed the sea not as a daughter, but as a caregiver, believing that even the smallest chance was worth a lifetime of waiting. What she did not know was this: the man she would care for every day was the very father she had been searching for all along. A child born from a promise. The war broke. Trần Thị Khang was born in 1968 in Bắc Giang, Vietnam, a time when the country was shaped by uncertainty, separation, and fear. From the outside, her childhood appeared ordinary. She was raised in a quiet village, taught to be hardworking and obedient, and guided toward adulthood by the woman she believed was her mother. Yet even as a child, there were small details that set her apart: her fair skin, her high cheekbones, her small, delicate chin. People often remarked that she looked different, almost foreign, but no one explained why. And Khang never asked. In a place where survival mattered more than questions, silence was often the safest answer. It was not until her wedding day, at the age of 21, that her life quietly split in two. As preparations ended and the house settled into an unfamiliar calm, the woman who had raised her called her aside. Her voice trembled as she spoke a truth she had carried for decades. She was not Khang's biological mother, but her aunt. Khang's real mother had died just 2 months after giving birth. In those few moments, everything Khang thought she knew unraveled. Her aunt explained that during the war years, Khang's mother had traveled to Hong Kong to work as a sales assistant in a supermarket. There, in 1967, she met a Taiwanese businessman named Thai Han Trio, a man nearly twice her age traveling for work. They fell in love during a time when the future felt fragile and temporary. When Khang's mother became pregnant, fate intervened cruelly. Her own mother fell gravely ill back in Vietnam, forcing her to return home urgently. Knowing the war was worsening and fearing they might never meet again, Mr. Thai gave her 2 items before they parted: a faded photograph signed with his name and date of birth, and a small gold ring engraved with the name Thai Han Trio. They promised to reunite. They never did. Mr. Thai never learned that the woman he loved was carrying his child, and Khang's mother, trapped by war and illness, never made it back to Hong Kong. 2 months after giving birth, she passed away, leaving her infant daughter in the care of her older sister, along with the photograph and the ring. Those 2 objects became the only bridge between Khang and the father she had never known. On her wedding day, her aunt returned them to her. "These are your dowry," she said, "and if one day you can, go and find him." Crossing the sea with a name and a hope. After that day, the idea of finding her father never left Khang's heart, but life did not make space for dreams. Her marriage was difficult. Her husband was often unemployed, and the responsibility of supporting the family fell largely on her shoulders. She worked relentlessly, not just to survive, but to protect her children from the instability she had known too well. Years passed, the photograph aged, the ring dulled, but the longing remained. In 2004, after divorcing her abusive husband and with her children already grown, Khang made a decision she had carried quietly for years. She would go to Taiwan as a domestic caregiver, not knowing where to begin, but believing that if her father was alive, this was the closest she could get. She packed lightly. At the bottom of her suitcase, wrapped carefully, were the photograph and the gold ring. She was assigned to Xinjiang City, where she would care for an elderly woman who had suffered a severe stroke. What she did not know, what no one could have imagined, was that the woman she was sent to care for was her stepmother, and the man who hired her was her biological father. At first, Khang lived in fear. She had heard stories of caregivers returning home broken after only weeks. She worked carefully, quietly, hiding her keepsakes as friends advised her not to carry valuables that could invite suspicion. The work was exhausting, but something felt different in that house. Despite having dismissed several caregivers before her, her employer treated Khang with an unexpected warmth. Once, he offered her money to buy a phone card so she could call home. She refused. When he asked why, she answered simply, "I value money, but only what I earn with my own hands." Later, she would say it felt as if she were living as part of the family. One night, overwhelmed by loneliness, she took out the photograph and the ring and cried silently. She planned to use her rare days off to search, though she had no idea where to start. Before she could act, her employer's wife passed away. Khang was reassigned to another family on Kinmen Island. In the chaos of moving, fear overwhelmed her. Only weeks later, after settling in, did she realize something unbearable. The photograph and ring were gone. "I cried until my eyes were swollen," she later recalled. "It felt like losing my father all over again." When destiny finally speaks its name. During a routine registration check, Khang reported the loss to the Foreign Affairs Police in Kinmen. The officers suspected the items had been left at her previous employer's home and contacted him. Searching through his late wife's room, the man found a small bag tucked inside a wooden wardrobe. When he opened it, his hands began to shake. Inside were the exact photograph and ring he had given to the woman he loved in Hong Kong nearly 40 years earlier. At that moment, he did not think of a daughter. He only knew that these were his belongings, fragments of a past he had never stopped wondering about. He contacted the police and traveled to Kinmen to meet Khang. When they sat face to face, she told him her story. He listened in silence, then asked gently, "What was your mother's name?" "Hua Suahoa," she replied. He answered instantly, without hesitation. Only Khang and her adoptive family knew that name. They embraced, crying without restraint. "You really are my daughter," he said. "I am your father." A DNA test later confirmed what their hearts already knew. Khang looked at the 77-year-old man before her and whispered, "Father, I've suffered so much searching for you." The man she had served every day as an employer was the father she had been carrying in her heart since childhood. When roots find their way home. Though Khang found her father in 2004, their reunion was only the beginning of a long-delayed journey. She completed her contract before returning to Vietnam in 2007. Her father, now elderly and living alone, dreamed of finally fulfilling the role he had unknowingly missed for over 40 years. Health complications delayed their plans. Yet every morning at 8 o'clock, Khang called him. "Just hearing him say hello lets me breathe," she said. Once, when he did not answer, she panicked, only to learn he had been brushing his teeth. Out of more than 150,000 households eligible to hire caregivers in Taiwan, and tens of thousands of Vietnamese women applying each year, Khang's chance of meeting her father was less than 1 in 150,000. Yet she did, because some journeys are not guided by maps, but by blood. Some reunions are not rushed, but waiting for the right moment to unfold. Like countless children separated by war, Vietnamese, American, Taiwanese, Khang's story reminds us of a truth that never fades. People have roots, just as rivers have sources. And no matter how long the road or how wide the ocean, the longing to return, to be seen, named, and held, never disappears. Sometimes, home is not a place. It is a person you were always meant to find.